When it comes to restorations, the challenge is that you must have a lot of forethought, especially when you are doing it as a business. You've got to keep progress rolling, right? So part A needs to be well on its way, say the frame, but part B must be well on its way also, so that by the time A is done, B is ready to go on. But part C, part C, if part C does not work with A or B, then you're in a whole mess, right? You've just opened up a whole can of worms. You've got to figure out part C before you can proceed. And we won't even get into D, E, and F. So that is a challenge, and then making videos is another challenge. You can either A, do a start to finish video on a single assembly, or B, you can just follow along on the natural processes and how things happen to go. As much as I would like to, say for instance, do a start to finish video on the front end there, that can take weeks, that can even take months, depending on what you run into, the modifications that your customer wants, or sourcing original parts. It's all a tapestry, a rich tapestry, right? So I think at this point anyway, I am going to just proceed the natural course of events on how they happen here. I am actually going to take a bit of a road trip tomorrow. We are going to deliver the frame to a sandblaster, and in the same trip we are going to pick up a rear axle that I think will be just perfect for this build. And the best part, it is only $200, and we will get into all of that as we get it. I would really like to get the front end torn down and take in the axle. I may or may not get that far. That's something I can easily blast. That's not a problem. But for now, I need to go get a trailer. We're going to load this guy up. I'm going to flip it over, scrape what's left of the gunk, and so they don't have to fight that, and then we will move on. So we will see you as we see you. Let's get to work. Alright, a guy has contacted Atlas Spring and Axle in Wichita, and the guy's in the office now looking up if they have the specs for the mainspring. That should be all we need for the rears, and only because the bushing got so worn out, it is now eaten into the eye of the spring. And frankly, that just won't work, if we want to do it right. So you can find these sets online. They're going to probably run you $400 to $500 plus shipping, but it's going to be cheaper if I have them made, probably better quality, I don't know. And a guy could always find himself at Texas Roadhouse or on the border or something, So there's just pluses all around for us to rebuild them ourselves and get new mainsprings made somewhat locally. I'm going to turn my attention to the front axle and the steering, and we are going to tear this completely down. I'm going to try to get it to a bare axle here. Sure. All right, bit of a mystery here involving the rear springs. According to the Atlas Spring and Axle guy in Wichita, he went back and looked at the books. I think I mentioned that, and that confirms what I found online with measurements for a half-ton pickup that your distance from the center to the center of the eye and the other direction, they should both be 27 and a 16th or something like that. But on ours, they're like 26 and 3/4. Not sure why the discrepancy. He was pretty sure the 3/4 was a shorter spring. I went back and checked. I checked the trim tag and the wheelbase. The wheelbase on a half-ton pickup should be 113 inches. 3/4 ton is 123, I believe, somewhere around there. And indeed, our wheelbase is 113, and our trim tag has a KC on it, not a KD. KC is half-ton. Kilo Charlie versus Kilo Delta. We have a Kilo Charlie on the trim tag. So, very sure that yes, this is a half-ton, as we thought. I told him, you know, we're talking about a difference of a little over 1/4 of an inch on spring length. I just told him, go ahead and make the right ones. We don't know. It's an 8-leaf spring, just like it should be. 1 3/4 wide. I don't know. Did a guy throw something else on under here? That's very possible. So he's gonna make 2 main springs to the books, and it'll match what I find online also, and we will go with that. So I'm gonna continue on with our front axle. I think this guy must be the custom Juan Manuel Fangio special. You know, you got your vented brake drums. But, I don't know. Probably not. My grandpa, who would have been a teenager at the time of Juan Fangio driving Chevys, you can imagine that I grew up hearing about it, you know, from Grandpa. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, look up Juan Fangio Chevys and you'll find out. Alright, we're just going to pop everything off here as an assembly and throw her in storage. We're not even, unfortunately, not even remotely concerned about any of this. And once again, I did make the offer, as I always do, when we have a project where we're not going back original. I tell the guy, anything you don't want, I will trade. I will buy or trade from you. So, yeah, that's nice. Might have to hang that one on the wall. It'll be a problem. Alright, I'm going to get this off. Gonna be a problem. Actually, I don't even need to deal with it. See if this race comes off. Yep. You know, they were evidently still driving this in the 60s. You know, maybe 20 years old. Ugh. The rear was sagging, and they just threw something else in there. I'd really need to check the next generation of Chevy pickup. You know, maybe they threw something from the later 40s in there or something. I don't know. I don't know that well enough to know it by heart. Spring dimensions. What's going on here? All right. Washers off. Okay. Well, everything's being stubborn. Mopping up soda pop rickies to our heart's delight. Dancing to one or two quickies, jukebox Saturday night. Alright, we're going to go after the kingpin. And the other side proved extremely stubborn. I mean, they do not make expansion plugs like they used to. And in this case, it might be a good thing. I'm not sure, but stubborn, stubborn, stubborn. So, I'm going to get the plug out. And then we will proceed, but goodness. Wowie, wow, wow. This one's even worse than the other side. I've got her chiseled completely in half. See if I can pry it off now. There we go. That's incredible. Okay, I'm going to get our kingpin bolt out. Bring you around. I'm sure you know what to do. But we're here, right? Our nut started. Wouldn't you know, the side I show is the biggest fight. I need a better set of punches here. All right. Kingpin. Oh, we got a bushing out with it. That's part of the problem. So we knock this off sideways. There we go. Our little shims. There's our bearing. Looks like that's it. Spindle. All of that should clean up nice. Don't see any problems so far. So, all right, I'm going to flip this over, disconnect the springs, and then I will have a stripped down axle that we can take to the blaster. Well, I had to call in the janitor again. We keep that guy pretty busy around here, you know. So I guess that does it. We have 6 spring assemblies that we need to take apart and go through, and a steering linkage. All of that would be a great little project for one of my boys to do. So we may just set them loose with that sometime when they're here. I'm going to get this cleaned up and move on to something else for the rest of the day. And then we will see you tomorrow. We've got my number 1 son helped me load the frame on the trailer, so we got that ready, and the axle and a couple other things. So we'll see you bright in the morning, bright and early in the morning, to take that in and go on our little road trip. See you then. Okay, we have dropped off the frame to get sandblasted and hopefully primed. We did a side trip to the lumber yard for something not related, and now we are scooting up to Beloit, from Hutch to Beloit, to get the rear axle. So, see you sometime, man. That's fine.
Okay, once again, I apologize. When I show up to a place, I just want to get the work done and don't necessarily always want to shove a camera in someone else's face. So if they don't know I'm coming from, if they're not connected to me already previously with videos and a YouTube channel, I just don't often even bring it up. I show up, I do the deal that I agreed to do, and I don't even ask about getting the camera out. Very nice guy. And what we got here, unfortunately, is not quite the one that it would be nice to have, but it's going to work just fine. What we have here, I was told a 1990 rear axle. Some looking around online, some say 85 to 89. It could have been used, carried over into 90. I don't know. I'm not an expert, but this is would be from the 3rd gen Camaro and Firebird. The things that I really liked about it is, the guy was on the fence about having all-wheel disc and would prefer to have all-wheel disc. He asked me my opinion, and you know me, guys. I'm perfectly comfortable driving a car every day of my life with drum brakes. I drive across the country and then back again with drum brakes. Doesn't matter to me. But he was on the fence about it, and so he's got his disc brakes this way. So we got that taken care of. Limited slip. We're putting higher performance engine in it. You might as well. Why have an open rear end, right? So it's got limited slip in it. I haven't double checked it. The guy said 62 inches. It's just about perfect for the width we need. What else? We got rear, they won't be used. I don't know about the shock mounts, not sure. Probably not. There's a lot on here that I can remove and cut off. I will be getting leaf spring pads and welding them on in the correct place, just to carry through with our staying with that original suspension. Other than that, the posi seems to be, it's obviously in there. We will open this up completely rebuild it. The other thing, this is a 3:27 ratio. I was thinking somewhere along the lines of a 3:23. We're going to have plenty of horsepower, but one of the goals is to make it a comfortable cruiser going down the highway as well. And so I was thinking along those lines already, and this just provides that for us, just tiny bit higher, and should be good. Should give it long legs rolling down the highway. I apologize, it's kind of dark back in here, but just measuring up and making sure that we can hopefully use the rear axle that we got. Now, I knew going into it, the guy I bought it from said it was 62 inches wide. On our original rear end here, I marked the center line between our backing plates, and as long as that's consistent, both sides, the drums and the backing plates, I marked the center line, and then coming off our flange with a square, we get 30 and an eighth. So overall 60 and a quarter inches, flange to flange. Now, when I started considering Camaro and Firebird axles, I was looking at first and second gen, and I thought they were a little bit narrower. Turns out I'm not so sure they are any narrower than this 3rd gen, but nevertheless, did the same thing here, and measuring from the outside of the flange where the wheel touches, we get 30 and 7/8 going both ways, which means we have 61 and 3/4 total width.
So we're coming up with 1 5/8, or just a little bit over 3/4 per side that we have to make up. Yeah, it's a little, it is 1 5/8 wider overall, is what I'm saying. And so we're losing, in effect, a little over 3/4 of an inch of room inside the wheel, inside the rear fender. Now I measured the inside dimensions of the rear fenders, and they're right at about 11.5 inches of room. And just for reference, these big old beefy Coopers I have on my GMC here, they're coming in at 11 inches, and these are 275s, much wider than anything that pickup ever would have had. We come back in here and we have such a mismatched assortment of tires just to keep the truck rolling, you know, keep it movable. Mostly, let's see, this is probably a 235, kind of a common, yeah, that's 235. Sidewall to sidewall is under 8 inches, you know, and so all of these are going to be, can I see the size on that one? I'm not spotting it, really need a flashlight for my eyes here. But that's right at 8 inches. This is a trailer tire, but that's 8.5. So even though we are just a tiny bit wider on the rear end, I really think we can roll with it, and we can play around with getting even wider tires than original, and everything would be just fine. Once again, this is not for racing on the street or the strip. That should be obvious by now. The guy just wants a little more power, a little more speed, comfort, driving down the road, reliability, fuel economy, all of those things. And so certainly we can play around and stick quite a bit bigger of a tire in those fenders, despite the fact that we are losing an 1 5/8 on the rear end as far as that goes. Of course, you can always play with offset in the rim and all of that stuff, but even ignoring all that, I think we can still do a pretty good job at getting him some good looking tires in here, so I'm not going to worry about it. The next thing I want to do is I want to start cutting off everything that we do not need. All of the spring mounts, the rear stabilizer bar, shock mounts, the torsion rods, can't think of the right name right now for them, the links, and basically we're going to disassemble the entire thing, tear it completely down, go through everything, make sure the clutches are fine, make sure the bearings are fine. I've got all the parts already ordered. I probably told you about that already, so I'm going to get busy on that. All right, I know these marks may not be easy to see, but the instructions, this is a chassis engine. I have a chassis engineering motor mount kit, and the center line, they say from the center rivet of your front cross member to the center line of your engine mount, 15 1/8. So I've got that marked out here.
And then just doing a rough measurement on my 327 and back. I need about 16 inches to the back of the engine from the center line, and that is right here. I have a good amount of room in front. So the factory 86 belt drives and automatic temperature controlled fan. I'm struggling to come up with the right term there, but I needed about 16 inches in the front of the center of the motor mount to fit all of that factory drive stuff, which I've ordered a Marsh kit, but that comes out right, I mean that fan would be right up against the back of our factory radiator. And I think I'll have less room there, so we should actually be in pretty good shape as far as the front of the engine. The back of the engine, however, these instructions claim that you can use this apparently with the factory firewall as long as you're using a small HEI point type distributor, or small HEI will fit, which with our fuel system kit, which you'll see eventually, do have a small cap type distributor. But by my measurement, from this hole, the front cab mount hole, to the front of the firewall is 3 inches. So I've got an 1 3/8 here of overlap. So I'm not sure what's going on there. That's just the kind of thing we'll have to throw the cab on here eventually and check that out. So I'm not too sure. Again, I did a very rudimentary measurement on the 327, so we may find out it fits just fine. Okay, I already filmed unpacking the back of the pickup, but I don't think I had the microphone on. So we made a circuit yesterday of Kansas again, well, much smaller portion of it. But we went to Pratt. I had dropped off the 48 flywheel for the 48 car in the back there. I had started to redo this, turn this on the brake lathe like I did the previous 48, but we had a lot of hardened hot spots in this and just wasn't wanting to cut them. So I ended up taking it 54 pickup in Pratt, and they ground it on their machine. Looks great. Then we went to Wichita and at Atlas Spring and Axle, they made us some new mainsprings. They look great for the 40 pickup. They pressed in new bushings, gave me some new center bolts there. So looking forward to getting those installed. And then we had all the sandblasting the chassis and these small parts. That was all done at Nelson Sandblasting, Hutchinson, Kansas. They may technically be a part of South Hutch. I'm not sure in that area what's going on. But you'll find them if you want them. They did a beautiful job. The frame, all of these parts actually are in incredible condition. It was from a town northwest of here, typically very dry country, I suppose, even more so than here, and so I think that really contributed to the overall condition of this thing. Pretty incredible. If it hadn't been for the darn rodents getting in the top of the cab, now the thing is beat up very badly, but you know, as far as rust goes, if it hadn't been for them, we'd have an excellent vehicle to restore. But either way, Nelson Sandblasting did a great job. They shot epoxy primer on it, black, as you can see, just to keep the rust down, and they did a great job at that too. So if you're looking for a guy around Kansas, I highly recommend them. Wasn't going to, but I might as well show you a lot of what I've gotten here. They filled in the cracks, which I appreciate, really. They took all the wiring stuff out of the box and filled in the cracks of this box. Save on shipping, I suppose. Got front and rear shackles, spring bolts and bushings. That's part of the shocks conversion kit, front and rear, tubular shocks. Ron Francis, bare bones kit, just like we put in the 48 car. I'm nothing but impressed. That almost makes wiring pretty enjoyable. Really, really impressed with it. Rotors for our front brakes. We come out here, this is the rest of the brake conversion, calipers, brackets, bearings. Not too impressed with their SKF. Not too impressed with those, but that's okay. None of the engine tech stuff applies to this project, but all of these things, calipers, can't even remember what that is. What are you? Oh, that's headers. Headers for the engine. But all of this, most of this is rear axle, Camaro rear axle parts. Then the engine mount kit. I had tail lights here somewhere. Went ahead and bought those. I'm not seeing them at the moment. Got a replacement battery tray, Chevs of the 40s. Unfortunately, it looks like they put this piece on the wrong side and backwards. It needs to be flipped over and put on the inside. If that can be believed, right? But otherwise, beautiful reproduction. May or may not matter. And then a sneak peek at this guy in here. Oh boy, we're really getting into it now.
So there you go, guys. It's not even 9 o'clock and I'm already sweating out there like a stuck pig in August, up to its knees in trouble. That was weird. We made a good start. Done a lot of running around lately for this 40 Chevy project. I think that'll slow down, and now a lot of stuff will start coming to me. The owner was gonna look into and go after a cab up in Nebraska. Haven't heard anything about that. We talked about that several weeks ago already, so I'm not sure. I would assume if he had done it, he already would have dropped it off. But be that as it may, we will find a replacement cab. I've already spent like $15,000 of the guy's money. Just a little bit of advice and insight into the restoration world. If you are wanting to own an old car, buy the best one you can. You think about $15,000, how nice of an old car could you buy for that? And then just do little things here and there. Pretty nice one, I'm assuming, right? But when you start doing this resto mod thing, doing engine swaps, you're gonna spend probably twice as much money. It's just how it is, because you're starting over and you need everything, right? That's the case with anything. Doing any kind of conversion on any kind of car, you're gonna spend the money to do it. All that being said, I'm happy to help a guy out. So, like I said, place a big order with Summit. Engine and transmission should be on their way. I've already got fuel injection kit, and we went bigger. We went big. We did not want to go home. I've already got that, and we'll get into that when the time comes. What else? A lot of stuff. Over $3,000 order to Chevs of the 40s, and then some other things here and there. I need to figure out what I want in a radiator, what all options I want to stick onto that thing. That'll be an expensive item. Certainly we're going to need cooling lines going to and from, a shifter. There's some pretty cool shifters that look original, that I'm going to put in there for 700 R4 is what I ordered to go with our 350. Kingpin kit, cab mounts, the brake booster to finish out our brake system. All of these things, little things, big things. We got to get a lot of things, and we haven't even started on the body parts yet. So as for our rear axle, our 90 Camaro axle, just went to my local parts store, and I actually already have a lot of what we needed, but there are some other things that are on order yet. That'll get stripped down. It looks very likely that on the original rear axle, how they attached the springs to the axle, they kind of had a clamshell cast iron mount that bolted around the tube of the rear axle, and then your springs mounted on that. It wasn't just a welded on flat pad like you typically see. And I will do that if that's what we have to do, but it's looking very hopeful that our tubes are very close to the same size, so I may be able to use that clamshell clamp on this Camaro axle, which would be really cool, and be very convenient for putting our stock springs back on. We'll get into that later. The front axle can be reassembled, the rear axle can be assembled. All of those mounting points on the frame are the same, so none of that really needs to be test fit before we move forward with that. But on the frame, we of course are going to have to put our engine mounts in, bolt our engine and tranny together, put that in the frame, put the cab and the grill on, and just see how we're looking, get things like our accessories, our belt drive on there, and make sure we do have the clearance that I think we have. So a lot more to do, a lot more to come. If you are not a subscriber, please do that. If you want more videos from around the shop that I don't publish for public, and you want to get a little, feel like you've got a little part in this, consider becoming a member. Only $2.99 per month, and you get extra videos there. So I think that's it. Thank you so much for watching, guys. God bless you. Bye bye.